believe we are a go. Yep, there we are. I can see the stream on my phone, and we'll get started. Alright, welcome back everybody. This is Vespo27 again. Lately, my Elite Dangerous streams... Well, first of all, before I even get into that, happy holidays. We've got our Independence Day long weekend today. This weekend in the U.S. So I'm streaming a day earlier than normal. Hopefully this means that I can actually get in a second weekend stream at some point, like I promise often but not always deliver on. But we'll see how that goes. Tonight I'm going to do something a little different. Lately I've been doing a couple of tutorial streams that seem to go over pretty well. I've gotten some good feedback on them. And definitely looks like I've been attracting more attention with them than with some of my other videos where I just randomly play stuff. So I'm going to keep doing that, but I'm going to do something very different today. You can see on the screen I've got my Type 6 up. And what we're going to do is we're going to do some search and rescue gameplay today. This is a little different. This is kind of an oddball activity that really isn't that well developed in the game. You won't make a lot of money on it. In fact, you'll make very little money on it. I'm using this little Type 6 just because, well, I had it out there. And it's fun to drive a ship that you don't normally drive. Type 6 is not the most capable ship in the world, but surprisingly nimble for a small cargo ship, and mount just enough to do what I needed to do. You'll notice at the bottom of the screen when my hardpoints are deployed, I'm just barely over the power consumption that my power plant can handle, because I've packed quite a bit of gear in this thing, so much that I had to engineer the power supply fairly well just to get it to be able to do it this well. So I've got my module priority set so that my fuel scoop will turn off when I have my hard points deployed, and that's just enough to make it work. So I packed quite a bit of gear in here. I don't have an SRV. That would really be the thing that would complete this thing as a search and rescue, but I can show you just about everything else. So the point is, I want to make this a search and rescue ship, so you can go around, check out, go into systems that are in a state of war or civil unrest or civil war or any of that fun stuff. Go check out signal sources of various types, especially looking for distress calls and encoded emissions or combat aftermath and that kind of stuff, so that you can do search and rescue type things. Distress calls, things like refueling ships that have run out of gas, doing repairs to ships that are stranded because they're damaged, and things like that, and just try to do rescue. Rarely you will find things like escape pods floating around, or other things that you can sell at a search and rescue vendor. You rarely find them. There are some missions where you'll find things like that, but they're usually ground missions. And one thing I couldn't pack into this ship was an SRV, and you'll see why when we go over the configs. So if you want to play with this game style, you want a ship that can probably land on a medium pad, so you have more options where to go. You probably want to carry an SRV in addition to what I've got. So the ship is, you don't want to do combat in this ship because it's not going to last very long, but I do have shields and some weapons on it just to keep the bad guys at bay if they try to jump me. So the play style I do this, I'm mostly looking at signal sources to just kind of collect stuff. When you actually do a search and rescue, you will get a small amount of money for it. It influences the background simulation a little bit, which is kind of neat. Unfortunately, it's not a really well developed gameplay style, so you're going to get very little money out of it. But since you're checking out signal sources, you can also carry collector limpets and have a cargo hold and scoop up lots of manufactured materials and whatever else you can find out there. Sometimes illegal cargo and stuff like that, which kind of makes it worthwhile. It's a way you can go around gathering manufactured materials that doesn't necessarily involve combat. That's a slightly different style of gameplay. So we'll just take a quick tour of the ship. There's not a lot of special stuff. The important stuff you need for search and rescue is all going to be under optional internal, but I'll walk you through what I've got on the ship anyway. So for hard points for weapons, Type 6 really isn't a combat ship, but if you get in trouble, you probably want to have some weapons on the ship, at least to buy you some time. So I put a couple of burst laser turrets on the thing on my 2 small hard points. Again, you're not going to do much with this, but you know, a weak pirate, you're going to give them a hard time with it. Or maybe you shoot somebody up enough to make them think twice about charging you long enough for you to get away. Honestly, you could do without weapons on this config. For utility mounts, I've got a frameshift wake scanner. This is the thing that actually put me over a little bit on power. Useful to have because I'm going out to signal sources. May as well be able to scan frameshift wakes while I'm there, so I'm collecting some data materials as well, because really the materials is the only rewards that makes this even worth doing, aside from just for the fun of it and doing something different in the game that you can do. I always like to have a point defense just in case a pirate tries to gank my cargo with hatch breakers. Again, it's that point defense is the best way to stop hatch breaker limpets. If somebody starts shooting missiles at you, it'll help too. But my primary concern for this is always something to ward off hatch breakers. And I've got a chaff launcher in case I get into, just to help me buy a little time and get away if I get into trouble and somebody starts shooting at me. We looked at utility mounts, core internals. I'm going with lightweight alloys. I really should bump this up to a heavier armor, but never bothered to find it. Never bothered to spend the time to find it. Honestly, if I get into a fight long enough where my shields get breached, I'm in deep trouble anyway. So it's not that important. I would prefer to have heavier armor on it. I've got a 3A power plant. I did have to engineer it because I've packed a lot of equipment into this little frame. If you do this with a bigger medium ship like a crate, or you could do this with a Python, but there's much better things you could do with a Python than this. But if you're going to go into that class of ship, you probably won't have to engineer the power plant to get it to do what you want. I put in A-rated thrusters, of course, because most important thing about not really being a combat ship is you want to be able to get out of trouble. So you need some speed. Again, A-rated frameshift drive, just because I want to travel around. I've got a respectable 21 to 25 light year jump range, which is more than enough for getting around civilized territory. Life support, power distributor. I don't really need A-rated, but I went with it. Sensors, reasonable size fuel tank. That's a fuel tank that carries 16 fuel is more than enough for a ship this size, even if you are going to occasionally give out some fuel. Now for the fun stuff, let's look at our optional internals. So from the top, you do want a cargo hold because you are going to want to carry a decent supply of limpets, and probably leave a little bit of room for cargo in case you run across some. I'll probably travel with this thing with something like 25 limpets or so, somewhere around that range. I leave a couple of spaces open in the cargo hold. I went with a bi-weave shield generator just because that was the best shield generator I can find. I went with bi-weave just because they recharge faster, or they come back faster after they're knocked down. And honestly, I think if you knock down my shields, I'm going to be in trouble anyway. So I'd rather get them back up again as quickly as possible, because I'm more concerned about getting out of a fight than standing and fighting. But yeah, I went with a fairly big shield generator on this thing. That's another reason why I have this slight power problem, is because I put a pretty big shield generator on this ship for its size. I went with an AFMU just for repairs. I could do without this because, again, if I get into a fight, really, I'm kind of going to be in trouble anyway. Good size fuel scoop, critical. You always want to top off, especially with a short jump range, and especially if you're going to be refueling people. Again, if you do the distress call signal sources, you're going to be giving away a tiny amount of fuel per person, but you could technically use this config to support actual players, refuel them, kind of like what the fuel rats do. Most of the fuel rats, I think, fly anacondas or something bigger anyway, but you could do all the things that, if you're smart about how you fly, you could do all the things that the fuel rats do if you've got a decent fuel scoop in a ship this small. So the important things you need are your limpet controllers. So I went with a collector limpet. 3A size 3A collector limpet can do 2 limpets at a time, which is nice to have because you want to be able to pick up stuff fast and get out of dodge. If you drop into, say, an encoded emissions site that's a little hot. Fuel transfer limpet, I don't think you really need a big one for this. Usually, at least for the signal source encounters, one fuel limpet will do it. If you want to do player rescue, you may want a bigger one. Same thing with repair limpet. You don't have to repair someone all the way with it. One of the reasons that I put the field maintenance unit on this thing is because with the repair unit and the field maintenance unit, you can repair the ship back to 100%. Well, pretty much out in the field. The repair limpet will repair. You can repair your own hull with the repair limpet, and your AFMU can repair your internal components as well, except for your power plant. Then the last 2 slots, I've got my standard stuff, a Super Cruise Assist just because, and the Planetary Approach Suite that you get automatically when you have the Horizons expansion. Just because I'm using this ship and on stream, I gave it this nice brick red paint job. No big deal. You can do as you will with your ships. Okay, so if we look at this, I'm going to go in, make sure I have a load of limpets up, and then we're going to find a place to go looking for signal sources. Now, if you remember from my mining demo stream a few weeks ago, to buy limpets, remember you got to go advanced maintenance, restock, and there you'll have your selection of buy limpets. I have 24, well, I'll go with 25. 25 limpets now. That leaves me, 7 spots in my hold open in case I pick up random cargo. One thing you can do, since you do have a little bit of a cargo hold, and since you're not going to be making a lot of money, you can also stack on like black box recovery missions as well, where you have to pick up a small amount of cargo. So if you leave yourself a little breathing room in your number of limpets, you'll be fine. You're probably going to use more collector limpets than anything else, because generally when you hit a distress call encounter, you're going to use either one fuel limpet or one repair limpet. If you hit one of the signal sources where you pick up a bunch of materials, you're depending on how quickly you want to get out of there, you may need one, you may need more collector limpets. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to find a good system to go to. So we're going to go to our galaxy map. Now, I mentioned it before, the best places to go if you want to go hunting signal sources for ships that need help, that need search and rescue, or if you want a chance to find like an escape pod or a damaged escape pod or something like that floating free in space. I don't know how often those come come up. I haven't spotted one in free space in a very long time, so I don't even know if they still spawn or if you can only get them on ground missions. Like I said, we don't have an SRV. If you're flying a bigger ship and you've got room for it, yeah, put an SRV on it too and go to town. But the best places to go to look for disabled ships or combat aftermath signals is, of course, a system that has conflict zones in it, meaning that it's got to be in a state of war, civil unrest, civil war, that kind of thing. So we'll come over here to our map. I've actually already got it highlighted. You notice I've selected on my map to filter for state, and I've selected war, civil unrest, and civil war. Also incursion. I'm not sure if incursion will be quite right either, but you can see right here in the next system over is this one. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that one. It's the star is showing up as orange, and we can see from our legend on the side, orange means it's in a state of war. So this is a good candidate. So I'm going to set my course there. So we're going to go into the system and we'll check it out. We'll look at the we'll look around at the signal sources in that system. Hopefully we'll find some stuff so I can show you servicing a distress call. Hopefully finding some stuff to pick up, and if we're lucky, it would be nice if I can pick up an escape pod or two. But I think you usually find those on ground recovery missions. So bear with me a second. Where course is set, we'll launch up and get going. And while we're in transit, I'll give you a quick look at how I set up my fire groups. Nothing too special there, just want to make sure that I have all my gear available to me. Notice the Type 6 is actually nice and nimble. It's a small ship, so it's easy to get in and out of tight spaces like the mail slot. You don't have to be too precise, you can go fast. This is not a particularly fast ship, even though I've got A-rated thrusters. They're not engineered. You really don't have to engineer a ship for this. We can do it in most anything. You could probably set up a hauler as a search and rescue ship. You might have to skimp on a few things to get it to work. But you're probably better off at a bigger ship than what I've got now. So before I jump out here, I'm just going to really quick show you how I've set up my fire groups. I've got one fire group for my weapons. Another fire group has got my frameshift wake scanner and the comp scanner. You could do some light exploration in this ship, not a lot because I didn't give it a surface scanner. I've got a discovery scanner and data link scanner on the next fire group. Then the next two fire groups are the interesting ones.
Now offline. Have a safe trip, Commander.
I've got my repair limpet and my fuel transfer limpet on one fire group. I've got the collector limpet and, well, my chaff launcher on the other fire group. I also have chaff launching mapped to actually one of my joystick buttons directly too. Just so I have quick access to it. And this is basically it. I also map chaff to the second button on my weapons, just so it's available. Again, we want to avoid getting into combat, so we're not going to do a whole lot of fighting. But if you do, you want to be able to get quick access to your defensive stuff too. So let's go over this system whose name I'm not even going to try and pronounce. Again, it's in a state of war, so I should get in there. I should see some conflict zones when I come out of hyperspace, and I should see a bunch of of unidentified signal sources, some of which should prove to be distress calls. Alright, so let's take a look at our... so you can see here on our navigation pane, we've got conflict zones, which is good. We've got a bunch of unidentified signal sources. This isn't a terribly big system. I don't think I've been to this one before, so... yeah, not a terribly big system, so what I'm going to do is... you notice I'm staying in analysis mode. Again, you're not going to do much fighting in this thing. It's more of a running ship. Running away ship. Give it a quick scan. Actually, I'm going to check the FSS. Yeah, there's nothing here but signal sources. So I don't really need to scan those. So I'm going to pick the signal source that's right in front of me. You can see it's a degraded emissions. I'll hit it anyway, even though it's not what we're really after. So turn on my autopilot, my super cruise assist, and go to it. Now, degraded emissions, they almost always are just, it'll just be a bunch of materials that you can collect. Pretty much they're exclusively manufactured materials. I think some of them will have, actually no, that's, there's high grade emissions, I think. Will sometimes have a scannable beacon of some sort in them, as well as some materials, sometimes cargo. Degraded emissions are similar. I forget which is exactly which, but this is where you're... oh, I'm getting interdicted again. Type 6 thing I like about it, it's not the fastest ship, it's definitely poorly armed, but it's nimble enough that it's really easy to avoid interdiction. You know, I have more trouble evading interdiction when I'm flying my cutter. Of course, when I'm flying the cutter, I'm usually not afraid of getting interdicted anyway. Excuse me. The only annoying thing about interdiction is that you have to excuse me, restart your super cruise assist. And if you do what I just did and you just hit full throttle while you're too close to the target, you're gonna overshoot it. Again, one of the typical things you can do with the ship, well, it's a general utility ship with collector limpets and a cargo hold, so you can collect stuff. So we're going to drop into this degraded emission signal and collect stuff. And then we'll start looking at some of the other signal sources and see what we see. And again, you do want to collect materials when you get an opportunity to in this thing, if you're going to play search and rescue style, because that's really going to be the only way you're going to make anything that's worth profit. Well, that can be considered profit off of it. You're not going to make money, but you may want to... There you go, there's my collector limpet. But it may make it worth your while, so... Okay, we've got a couple of materials here. So we're going to open up our cargo scoop. Open up our hard points. There's only 4 targets here, so I'm just going to use one collector limpet. They're all materials. They're not actually going to take up space in my hold. Generally, at this kind of signal source, if you found cargo as well, that cargo is generally going to be illegal. I'll still pick some of it up if there's some valuable cargo. But if it's going to be cheap stuff that isn't worth much, I'll generally just leave it. If I've got a lot of targets, I'd use 2 collector limpets. This is really small amount, so you see I'm just continuing to collect my manufactured materials. Those come in handy for engineering. So really, if you play search and rescue style, what you're really doing is the real value you're getting out of it is that you're collecting up materials for engineering, which you're probably going to want to do every now and then, and you'll have some options to do some other fun gameplay things. It would be nice if search and rescue was a more viable play style, but if you do this to support your friends that are in trouble or other live players that are in trouble, yeah, you're gonna make some friends and allies pretty quick if you bail someone out of trouble by running fuel out to them and things like that. Back to our navigation pane. Let's pick another signal source. It's another encoded emissions. I'm just going to keep hitting signal sources until, well, we run out of signal sources or we find something interesting. This is basically the gameplay. You're basically going to fly around, check out signal sources. If you're looking for people to help, you're probably going to get out and chat and let people know that you're doing search and rescue and repair. And they can call on you for help if they really need it. Those rare ground missions where you can recover escape pods and things like that, you'll generally find them in systems that are war or civil war or civil unrest. And any place where there's open conflict, like conflict zones, they don't come up that often, so you may have trouble finding some. And again, because I didn't bring an SRV with me, I'm not really equipped for them. At least not tonight. But we'll see. I have plenty of other ships in the area. Okay, let's see what we got here. We got a private data beacon and some materials. So these emissions zones are obviously wrecks. It looks like there was combat here at some point.
Incoming message.
So there we go. We got a couple of different pieces of data. Regular emissions data, decoded emission data, and specialized legacy firmware when we scan this private data beacon. Usually you can tell for the fragments what type of ship it was that was killed here. I'm not really sure what this one is. So again, but we've got a couple of materials out here. So we'll pop open our cargo scoop, put out our hardpoints, and send out another limpet. If you notice, I got a power warning when I open my hardpoints up. Before we do that, if we look at our modules, you see I set my fuel scoop to priority 3. So when I extend my hardpoints, that'll turn off and save a little power. Whoops. I'm messing up my things here. So, oh, what did I do here?
Thrusters online. Shields offline.
Sorry about that. I'm messing up my, There we go. Bring everything back online. I messed up my controls and, accidentally shut off modules that I shouldn't have shut off. So anyway, I've got my fuel scoop as priority 3. I definitely won't need that while I'm going around collecting cargo and things like that. And I was only a tiny bit over my power capacity. I think I accidentally shut down my limpet and my cargo hold. Come on, there we go.
Cargo scoop deployed.
I can tell my flight stick is, well, you can't see it, but I can tell that my flight stick is showing its age, because once in a while pressing the buttons, they don't hit all the way on one tap. So I'm going to collect up these materials. I'm just going to clean these out so that I don't see an alarm there.
Shields online.
Oh, my shields are back up. And you can see from my power allocation that I'm intentionally doing all power to engines, a little bit of power to systems and weapons. If I'm gonna get into a fight and I really need my weapons, I'll put another pip to it, or I'll put another pip to shields, depending on what I want to do. But in general, you want to keep pips to engines, because normal operations, just throwing out a few limpets, doesn't consume much power, but you want to be able to run fast if you have to. So even if you have shields and some weapons, you're not going to be a big combat ship unless you configure for it.
Cannot comply.
In theory, with a bigger ship, you probably could configure one of these to have all the limpet controls you need and still be a decent combat ship. That's not what I've got here with this
Frameshift drive
with this little Type 6.
4, 3, 2,
I kind of started
1. Engage.
fooling around with this playstyle a little bit, kind of as an excuse to not get rid of my old Type 6. Specifically, so let's see what this signal source has. Combat Aftermath, that should be an interesting one. We're at 1, so whatever, if there's something there, it's probably not gonna be too nasty. There we go, I'll go on autopilot just so I don't have to worry about doing a loop of shame while I'm on stream. Combat Aftermath signals, you're only gonna find them in systems that have conflict zones open, meaning that there's combat going on in the system. So we've got a combat aftermath. This is one, if there's a threat level, there's a slight chance that you may get jumped by someone. And I think these may have some cargo and some materials in them. May have another ship in there. A couple of different things. This is hello, Commander.
You've entered a monitored area. A ship carrying valuable intelligence disappeared nearby. We'd appreciate your help recovering the data.
Okay, so it looks like from the transmission you just heard, it looks like this one is actually is actually a go find a black box thing. So we're gonna go over here in our comm pane, accept the mission.
Excellent. You're looking for a private data beacon. Once you've found it, hit it with your data link scanner. The intel will be automatically transmitted to us.
Okay, so you heard it. There's a private data beacon out here somewhere. We're gonna hit it with our scanner. Looks like somebody killed a that was a dolphin. That's probably where, that's the only target I see out here. If you remember, dolphins tend to have a really tiny heat signature, so you got to get up real close to them to select them. So there we go. We did our scan. You can see when I selected it, it says onboard data beacon. The instructions said to scan it with our data link scanner, so I'm going to go select our data link scanner.
Power plant capacity exceeded.
Decryption, transmitting decrypted data, and we're done.
Good work, Commander. We've received the data. We really appreciate your help.
I think on some of these, sometimes you'll get an escape pod to retrieve, sometimes you'll get a black box to retrieve, and sometimes you'll have to scan a data beacon. So you see I got some influence and reputation on top of all that, and if we look at our, nope, didn't get a transaction. Sometimes some of these operations you'll get a little bonus in your transactions pane. If you do, it's going to be a tiny amount. So basically we're done with this combat aftermath. Oops.
Frameshift drive charging. 4.
Okay, we will jump out and try another signal source.
Engage.
And we can do this for quite a while. You're never really going to make much money. So like I said, if you're going to do this for a while, I'll probably take either a small cargo transfer mission. Oh, there we go, distress call. These are usually the most interesting ones. This is usually where you'll have to refuel or repair a ship that's in trouble. Like I said, you don't make much money from these kind of missions, but it's an interesting style of gameplay. You'll have an opportunity to pick up materials. The rewards aren't great, but it's something to do that you may not have thought that you would have an option to do. Some stations will have a search and rescue vendor where you can sell off things like escape pods and such. If we get lucky enough to find one, I'll show you that. But this is a distress call, so it's most likely going to be a stricken ship that we need to help. Lately, I've noticed some of the distress calls end up being the equivalent of a convoy signal, and it'll be a small. It'll be like a cargo ship with a couple of escorts that you can just scan. I'm not sure why distress calls were showing up as that. Normally, it's a stricken ship that needs help. And again, if you don't have the repair and or fuel limpet, you won't be able to help the guy. Alright, let's see what we find here. There's a couple of ships here. Usually you get it looks like this one is one of those false Mayday, Mayday, requesting immediate assistance. Sometimes they're combat oriented. Just in case, I'm going to get my weapons up. Somebody's in a mayday, so I'm going to scan these guys. He's wanted. So these, usually there's some of these are light combat. There's a couple of wanted ships here. Whoa! Warning, hazardous cargo on board, keep us distance. He's asking for help. Not sure who the aggressors are yet. Everybody here is wanted status. Contacts. Who is calling Catherine Yelitz? Gabriel Johannes is the one who's asking for help. That's the guy who's asking for help.
Power plant capacity exceeded.
This might not be a good idea. The other advantage of doing this in the Type 6 is the rebuy is real low. This guy's an asp. So this probably is not going to go anywhere until I beat them. I don't know if I can really do this effectively in this ship. You know, lightly armored, not the greatest weapons in the world.
Target shields offline.
There we go. Power plant. That's the one I want. This guy's harmless, so he's not a very good pilot. So I may actually get away with this. One saving grace on the ship is I've got fairly decent shields. Probably got the biggest shields you're going to find on a ship this size. Oops, past him. The flight assist off. They're turreted, but they're on the bottom of my ship, so...
Flight assist on. Under attack. Flight assist off.
And so you see, this ship isn't totally helpless if this was any like serious opponent. If this was a decent pilot in this Asp Scout, I'd be toast. Somebody out here still calling for help.
Flight assist on.
Trying to stay alive by flipping flight assist on and off.
Flight assist off.
So let's stay on target more.
Under attack.
Put some more pips to weapons and shields.
Taking damage. Shields offline.
Alright, I'm taking damage now, so... Not really doing much to his power plant. Luckily those bi-weave shields are pumping me up pretty quick. He's in much worse shape than I am. I'm still flight assist off. That's kind of the only thing keeping me alive right now. I can probably do one more pass. If my shields aren't up, I'm in trouble.
Shields online.
I probably can't fight all these guys off. It looks like the police have come. There we go.
Flight assist on.
I got a little bounty. So I'm not totally helpless in combat. I probably don't want to do that too much. Let's see what we got here. Bunch of materials. So again, we'll switch over to our
Cargo
limpet
scope
controller.
deployed.
Back to
Programming
analysis
infantry.
mode. I think if you defeat all the opponents, then the guy who calls for help in the scenario survives, it'll give you some kind of bonus. Again, I only got one of them, so I don't think I got anything for it, aside from the bounty. So, some decent materials here. Conductive polymers I haven't seen in a while. Configurable components, I think, are a decent one. So, cost me a little hull damage. And a few limpets. Well, and a limpet, rather. I'm not going to stick around to complete this one because it's combat. It's not really what I'm built for. But you know, you see, you can make what's primarily a cargo utility ship still be able to fight a little bit. And you're better off doing this. If you want to get into fights, you're better off doing this as part of a wing where you're more support role,
Cargo scope retracted.
or to help repair up your friends. Anyway, since well, I'm not going to get into the rest of it. What I can do though is I can show you the repair options. And if we go over to our modules, you'll see some of our modules have taken slight damage. Nothing really concerned with, but the shield generator's at 91%. So let's go repair our shield generator. So we'll come over here. Because I've got an AFMU, I can go and
Shields
click
online.
repair, and it will fix me up. And hello to Connor. How are you doing? Connor has hit me up in chat, asked me what type of ship I'm using. Well, I'm using a Type 6, very small cargo ship. Well, primarily cargo ship. So you can see, because I mounted a field maintenance unit, I can fix, well, most anything on my ship, except for the actual power plant. Sensors took a little bit of a hit, but not bad, so we'll repair those too.
Module repaired.
And if you repair one of these, make sure that you mark it as active again. My shield generator right now is inactive. You want to turn it back on.
Exceeded.
98 or 99% is not a big deal. My AFMU itself is at 97%. You can't fix an AFMU unless you have two of them. So it can't fix itself. It also can't fix your power plant, because you basically have to shut down the whole ship for that. Oh, my cockpit canopy has taken a good hit. So we're gonna go repair that. Cockpit canopy technically isn't ever online, so you don't have to take it offline to do it.
Module repaired.
Again, this is why I carried this the AFMU, the field maintenance unit, so that I could do repairs on the fly. Now I can show you right now. Let's go over here, my repair limpet. Let's whoops. Apply my hard points. Notice I don't have any targets selected. There's other stuff going on around here. I think the cops are fighting the other bad guys, but I don't have anything selected, and I'm going to launch a repair limpet. So if you don't have anything selected, it will repair yourself. If you watch my hull indicator under the ship hologram, you see it's I'm actually repairing my own hull. So I'm burning through a couple of limpets, but my ship is almost back up. Will be almost back up to full capacity. You know, I've repaired the couple of internal components that took a little bit of more than a trivial hit, and now I'm actually able to repair my hull as well. And
Successful.
I've gotten almost back to 100%. If I wanted to fire a second one, I could get the ship back up to 100%, but I'm going to just let it go. Like I said, there's not much to do with this signal. Even though this was a distress call, not much to do here other than combat, and combat really isn't my thing, so I'm going to move on to another signal source and get out of here.
4, 3, 2, 1, engage.
I did want to show you that you can actually repair yourself if you've got the right gear, and that you can outfit a strictly cargo ship that can handle a little bit of combat. Okay, so we've got a couple of signal sources left. Let me go find them and check those out. And you don't know what the signal source is until you actually point your nose at it and let your sensors. This is convoy dispersal pattern. Sometimes these convoy dispersal patterns, you'll find this, well, a convoy there, which isn't particularly interesting in itself. If you wanted to pirate them, you could, if you happen to have hatch breakers on you, which I'm not carrying. Once in a while, if you go to one of these, they'll get attacked by somebody that you can help them fight off. Most of the time, it's just a convoy of cargo ships floating around. You can scan them and maybe get some data class materials that you can use for engineering off of the scans. Sometimes you don't. We'll check it out anyway, just to take a look at it. I actually have other ships that are configured similar to this. I think out in Colonia I have a bigger Type 7 cargo ship that's configured basically as one of these search and rescue / utility ships. And I was using that out there to help collect materials. Okay, we dropped in. We got a couple of targets that are actually behind me. Let's look at my contact list. They're all listed as System Defense Force. Ooh. So I'll just go through scan them. Looks like a Type 9 escorted by 2 Anacondas. He comes up clean. I didn't get anything for scanning him, but we'll try the Anacondas. you notice I got an untypical shield scan. That's okay. That'll come in handy
Scan detected.
for engineering at some point. It looks like some bad guys just jumped in. They're probably not going to bother me because I've got nothing of value on me. And
Under attack.
oh, they're shooting at me.
Taking damage. Shields
The
offline.
vulture, I probably can't handle it, so I'm gonna
Friendship
get out of dodge.
charging.
I'm a little too close to these ships, so it's interfering with my hyperdrive charge up. So I'm gonna go evasive.
4, 3, 2, 1.
I'll take a little bit of damage from heat, if that's okay.
Taking heat damage.
Should cool down pretty quickly. Okay, I managed to get out of there. So I don't know if you saw the combat ship that was attacking me. That's a vulture. That's a light combat vessel with some fairly large weapons on it. I actually like to fly one of those in combat situations.
Shields online.
And looking at the chat, Connor is saying, I can never wrap my head around the game. There's too much stuff to look at and manage. I couldn't do it. You're right. This is a complicated game. It takes a long time to get to know your way around it. Yeah, that's why I've got a lot of traction doing how-to videos about it. So let me take a look here. One thing, while I'm in Super Cruise, if I try to repair my thrusters or my frame shift drive, I'll drop myself out of Super Cruise real fast. It took a little damage, nothing really to worry about. The shield generator damage bothers me a little bit. I'd like to have my shields in
Shields offline.
tip top. So let me repair that. You'll notice the ammo on my field maintenance unit is dropping as I do it.
Module repaired.
You can synthesize, if you have the materials for it, you can synthesize more reloads for your field maintenance unit on the fly if you need to. So we go. We repaired our shield generator, brought it back online. There's really nothing else. I really didn't take much damage. Took a minor hit to the power plant, but you can't repair your power plant on the fly. That sounded like my shield's coming back online. So let's see. I don't think I can fix my hull up.
Shields online.
I don't think it'll let me fix my hull while I'm in Super Cruise. No, it won't. Alright, let's go back to our nav panel, pick up a signal source, and check it out. Excuse me. Another convoy dispersal pattern. Threat 0 is a good sign. That means there's not likely to be any combat there. But it's also probably not going to have anything really exciting to do. Still got to search around. I still want to find a legitimate search and rescue opportunity, since that's what what I've actually named the ship. If I run out of signal sources here, well, I'll land, restock, and then I'll find another system that looks like it's got some conflict and look for combat aftermath and distress signals there. see. What do we have here? Security Academy Training Unit. I don't think I've ever seen one of these before at a combat. Security Academy Training Unit, Deadly Clean, Galaxy Express. Scanned them. Doesn't look like there's much going on here.
Scan detected.
Well, he's scanning me. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have any bounties on me, so he's going to leave me alone. That's a passenger ship at Orca. Your time in the Academy is nothing compared to the real thing. Perform no high enough standards today, and you'll have earned your badge as a member of System Security. Alright. What that probably means is that if I had was carrying any bounties, he'd probably come after me. I think. Alright, so not much to see here.
Charging.
You'll notice my frameshift drive is taking its time charging, and I got a warning about mass lock. That's because I'm a little too close to a ship that's larger than me. And as soon as I get a little distance from it, I'm able to jump out. So if you're bounty hunting and you're in a fairly large ship and your target is in a small ship, you can keep him escaping if you stay close to him, because you'll actually mass lock him. Alright. Let's go and find yet another signal source. So this is really the gameplay. You just keep checking out signal sources. If you see weapons fire signal sources, you probably want to avoid those because that's purely a combat opportunity. Let's see what this one is. Combat Aftermath. We can do that. It's a threat 1, so if there's any combat there, it should be something that we can handle. I've done a fair amount of combat lately, so I'm used to maneuvering a flight assist off, so I can keep my guns on target long enough to have an advantage against weaker foes. Just waiting to drop out a super cruise on this one. Yeah, if it says that if the threat level on the signal source is low, like 1 or 0, well, if it's 0, there's going to be no combat at all. If it's threat 1, there's probably going to be no combat, and if there is, it's going to be somebody relatively weak. When you get up to 3 or 4, you really have to worry.
Hello, Commander.
Alright, we got
You've entered
a
a
message
monitored
here.
area. A ship carrying valuable intelligence disappeared nearby. We'd appreciate your help recovering the data.
Alright, so we'll go up to our message pane. We'll accept the challenge. Want to recover data. So this looks exactly like what we had last time.
Excellent. You're looking for a black box.
Okay.
Once you found it, just scoop it up. The data will be automatically transmitted to
There we
us.
go. So this is a pick up the black box mission. So we found our black box.
Exceeded.
Select our collector limpet.
Cargo
We'll put up our
scoop
cargo
deployed.
scoop. I can just cargo scoop it up, or I can
Limpet drone.
be lazy and pop out a collector limpet and have the limpet drone go pick it up for me.
Collector limpet expired.
And the nice thing with this type of combat aftermath mission is if we wait here, it goes through the whole decryption and transmitting.
Good work, Commander. We've received the data, so you can drop the black box. We really appreciate your help.
So basically,
Cargo scoop.
I can do what I want with the black box, which is fine. since I do have a black box, you can actually sell them if you can find a trader that if you can find a search and rescue trader at a station. So I'm going to kind of hang on to that. It's going to, whoops, if we look at our inventory, see I've got a black box. And they're not worth a lot, but it's better than nothing. Let's see, and if I look at my transaction pains, nope, I just have the bounty from that chip that I killed. Let's see, we're all buttoned up.
Frameshift drive charging.
Oh, I'll keep going, try it again.
4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
Let's see, still combat aftermath. I've still got a combat aftermath showing up here. I think that's actually the one that I just came from, but we'll try it anyway. I'm surprised I didn't get more distress calls. Alright, let's see what this one has in store for us. Usually you'll see more distress signals. So we'll see. If I run out of signal sources, what I'll do is I'll land, re-engage, resupply.
You've entered a monitored area. A ship carrying valuable intelligence disappeared nearby. We'd appreciate your help recovering the data.
Okay, you want me to recover data. We accepted the mission.
Excellent. You're looking for a black box. Once you've found it, just scoop it up. The data will be automatically transmitted to us.
So this is the same thing as before. I'm going to do this one differently. Instead of using a limpet, I'm just going to open my cargo scoop and scoop it up. So if you see on the left, I've got a blue box, which is basically the view from my cargo scoop. You'll notice there's a cargo canister in there. I'm going to keep the cargo canister in the crosshairs and approach it. You want to be under 40 units of speed on your throttle. If you go over that, your indicator will go red. If you stay under it, it'll be blue. And you just try and keep it centered as best as you can, and your scoop will pick it up. This is a lot more tedious than using limpets, but you don't need to spend a limpet. We just close up our cargo scoop.
Retracted.
It's going through the whole rigmarole of transmitting encrypted
Good
data.
work, Commander. We've received the data, so you can drop the black box. We really appreciate your help.
And just like last time, you can drop the black box if you want, or you can keep it and bring it back to a search and rescue trader and trade it in for a small amount of money. Now I've got 2 of those in my hold along with my limpets.
Frameshift drive charging.
And we're gonna head out. I should have stopped and repaired myself
Ready
again,
to
but
engage. 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
let me check the chat again. Oh, Connor was asking me how I was doing during quarantine. Um, Not sure if you're still on and listening, Connor, but for me, quarantine wasn't a big change at all, other than having my kids home. 'Cause I normally work from home anyway, and my job has still been going strong. So it's been fairly normal work weeks for me, except that my kids are home. Ah, here we go. I found a distress call, threat 2, so I might have to get into a fight here. But we'll see. Usually these distress calls, it's a ship that needs fuel. Usually a ship that needs fuel or a ship that needs repairs. Sometimes it may be a ship that's under attack. So we'll see what this one is. You don't really know until you get there. So we'll have to see. Give it a few more seconds for autopilot to take us in. Okay, Super Cruise Assist has spoiled me. Alright, here we go. Looks like there's a bunch of ships here. So this looks like the same scenario as before. Really gonna want me to do it. Somebody's gonna call a mayday. And some of these guys are gonna be wanted. I'm probably not gonna be able to fight them. I don't know if I want to tangle with any of these guys.
Drone. Power plant capacity exceeded.
So while I'm doing that, I'm gonna pop a repair limpet and repair my hull, just in case I get into a fight here. That guy's wanted. Nobody's talking on comms really. Go. Back up to 90% hull, that's enough for now. These guys look like they're all from the same faction. They're all wanted. Scan the rest of these. Yeah, these are all wanted. They're all from the same faction. I suppose I could attack them if I wanted, but I'm really not going to be able to take on 5 ships in this thing, so I'm going to head on out.
Frameshift drive charging.
We'll head on out. We'll try another signal source. Like I said before, if I run out of signal sources here, I'll land and resupply, and then go find another place to go hunting for this stuff. Well, we're getting a couple of new signal sources coming in, so we'll continue milking them. Let's check out this one. Ceremonial comms. Okay, I know what this is. It's threat 0. You'll go there. It's actually a funeral procession. All you can really do is scan them. If you want to pirate them, you can. But there's really not much point to it. We'll just drop in to take a look at it. And then we'll pop in, take a look at it, leave, and then go take a look at another one. You'll get weird things like ceremonial comms, and normally they'll pop up once in a while in systems that have conflict going on of some sort. And you'll see from the comm chatter that goes on when we drop in, it's like some sort of VIP that died. It's getting an honor guard. Funeral ship, mostly harmless. Blue Mafia, they're one of the more prominent factions in this area. Scan all these guys, see if get any usable data out of it. That's really all there is to it. If you wanted to pirate them, you could. It's a faction that's not friendly with you, and you see on the comms up on top, they're one with the stars. The funeral ship is gonna just transmit stuff like that over and over and over again on a loop. Okay, well, I scanned all these ships. Nobody's really got anything interesting. That's a funeral procession.
Frameshift drive charging.
Alright, let's get out of here. The one with the stars now parting is what's sorrow. Now that I am without you, I am desolate. So yeah, if you stick around and watch the on the comms pane in the upper left, it'll show you the funeral ship transmitting every now and then. Alright. Got that combat aftermath one keeps coming up. I think that's bugged because some reason usually they go away after you hit them. But that one seems to be keep popping it out. Maybe I'll go back and get another black box or two before I turn in. Let's see what this one is. Another convoy. Threat 3, so this is more likely to be a convoy that gets attacked. I'm probably not going to want to stick around. Oh, someone's trying to interdict me. Not that I really have anything useful. Again, I'm nimble enough that I can do a decent job of evading once I get on the ball. So to evade interdiction, you just have to keep on that floating target as much as you can, and you'll break free. If you don't break free, he'll drag you out of hyperspace and get a chance to jump on you if he really wants to. Okay, so the only thing here, well, this combat aftermath is still sitting here. This one probably should have left on its own, and I shouldn't be able to keep going back to it to get more black boxes. So that looks like a little bit of a bug. But we'll hit it up one more time, and then we'll go in. There's a small outpost here. Of course, I only need a small pad with the Type 6, so we'll go in, we'll restock, rearm, see if I can sell off those two black boxes. I'm going to search and rescue trader if they've got one at this system. going to take a minute or so to get to. Almost there. Let's see. Yeah, I was a little bit further away from that one than I thought. We should be getting there soon. Adjust my seats while I'm waiting to drop in. Connor's asked me if I play Warzone. No, I do not play Warzone. I don't think I've ever checked it out at all.
Hello, Commander.
All right.
You've entered a monitored area. A ship carrying valuable intelligence disappeared nearby. We'd appreciate your help recovering the data.
Yeah, this signal source, it looks like it's bugged because it should have gone away and it's going to be the same thing over and over again. So I'll accept it, and it's going to tell me to go find.
You're looking for a private data beacon.
Ah, this one's different.
Once you found it, hit it with your data link scanner. The intel will be automatically transmitted to us.
Okay, this is find a private beacon and scan it. So it's not exactly the same mission, but the signal source should go away and then reform and not be already scanned, but who's splitting hairs? Let's go in here. Looks like this is actually a beluga liner. So it's my main sensors are checking out the onboard data beacon. But instructions said use data link scanner, so that's what we're going to do.
Power plant capacity exceeded.
We have to be a little bit closer. There we go. Did I get it yet?
Wrong place, wrong time.
Uh-oh.
Let's punch some holes in that ship of yours.
Boost out of here. I'm not going to play with the hostiles, I'm just going to get out.
Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage. Warning. Temperature critical.
Probably could have done a little better on this one if I was able to take out the hostiles, but as soon as the convoy dispersal pattern and the combat aftermath that are just sticking around. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to land, re-up and rearm, or rather do my repairs and rearm. And then might check out a different system. Oh, there's a new signal source. Oh, some new signal sources just popped up. We hit those degraded emissions, and this one is dispersal pattern. We'll go for the degraded emissions. Oh, there's one more unidentified signal source right up there. That one's convoy dispersal, convoy dispersal. I'll go for the degraded emissions because that's an easy one. So I thought I was running out of signal sources to check out, but a few new ones popped in. I'll check out at least one of those and then turn in and find a new location to search. Again, it's search and rescue, so you're searching as much as you're rescuing. Probably more search than rescue. And I would like to find a distress signal where we actually get to help a stricken ship. That's a little bit more interesting than running away from pirates and retrieving black boxes. Okay, let's see what's showing up on our contact lists. Ooh, reactive armor, combat stabilizers, battle weapon. Oh, this is cargo. A little bit of materials. I'll go pick it up, even though generally the cargo you find out here is going to end up being illegal cargo.
Cargo scoop deployed.
We can always find a black market to sell that at. So if we look, that's a wrecked anaconda that somebody shot up.
Programming limpet drone. Power plant capacity exceeded.
Let's see. Just because I'm going to send out 2 limpet drones just to make quick work of this patch of stuff. Battle weapons aren't very valuable, but none of the stuff is going to be too significantly valuable, but there's a little bit of trade-in on it. Assuming I find a station with a black market. Because you cannot sell these on the regular commodities market. Only problem, and you see I've got my illicit cargo warning in my lower right. Only problem with that is if you get caught with illicit cargo, if you get scanned while you have illicit cargo, you get in trouble. The system security will attack you, or you'll be on anonymous access until you pay a fine the next time you land at a station. So we'll take a quick look at ship exterior here. Proximities warnings are going off in the cockpit. That's our limpet. And that's the space wreck that I've been checking out. It's a much bigger ship than me, and it looks like it kind of got chewed on by something. Those 2 lights are my limpet drones. And there's my ship, nice and dim and hard to see. Type 6 looks basically like a brick with a cockpit on the front, which isn't too far from the truth.
Cargo scoop retracted.
Alright, let's button everything up.
Frameshift drive charging.
Be on our merry way.
3, 2, 1. Engage.
So we've got a little bit of illegal cargo in our hold. We'll try not to get scanned. It's not really that valuable, so I don't know that it's really worth it, but hey, whatever. I've got it. You'll notice I marked as stolen. even though the cargo's abandoned, it's still marked as owned by whatever ship dropped it. Which is kind of bull, because it's kind of sitting out there doing nothing. Alright, I don't see any new signal sources, so I'm going to set my course to this outpost. And we'll go in for a landing. We'll do our rearm and resupply. Offload whatever of my cargo that I can. Should take a minute or so to get there. There's still a couple of signal sources out there, but it's all stuff that we've done a couple of times already, so we'll land re-up and see if we can find another system that's in bad shape. Alright, this is a small outpost. Oh, new signal sources are now popping up. I'm still going to go in and resupply. If I'm quick about it, these signal sources will still be here when I launch. I'm curious to see what station services the station has. As if they've got a black market and a search and rescue trader, I'm in great shape. I'll be very happy about that.
Docking request granted.
Excuse me, getting tired already. Let's get in over here, find my landing platform, and line up on it. Landing pad 3, there you are. Around a bit, drop my landing gear.
Landing gear deployed. Disengaged.
Alright, any landing you can walk away from is a good one. So we'll refuel. It took a little bit of damage. Well, I took more damage than that, but I was able to repair it. Let's see, we'll finish my repairs, go into advanced, repair ship integrity, and freshen up my paint. I cannot buy more limpets. Good thing I'm not out. The station has limited services. Let's take a look at our contacts. Alright, this will do. I don't have a black market, but I do have a search and rescue contact. So first, let's look at our authority contact. So I can turn in this bounty voucher for this little bit, for that one asp scout that I managed to beat. So it looks like I just got my reputation went up with the system owner. Now let's take a look at our search and rescue contact here. This will let me sell off any search and rescue related cargo that I might have picked up. So if you notice, black box, I've got a couple of black boxes. This is reward none. Okay, wait, 1, 2, okay. Worth about 20,000 credits each. So it's not much, but it's something. I've never seen wreckage components, so I don't know what they are or how much they fetch. Occupied escape pods, you'll get a better payout than black boxes. They're kind of hard to come by, but you'll find them once in a while. I've never seen personal effects out there. Hostages you can get from certain missions, and you can sell them here. I haven't seen them come up in any of these random stops. Damaged escape pod is apparently, well, obviously, it's an escape pod. Well, it's got someone in it, but the escape pod was damaged, so they probably didn't survive. It's basically a corpse in a metal container. Occupied escape pod is a live person in a metal container. And I've seen hostages out there with hostage rescue missions, where you gotta pry hostages away from a ship that has them by using hatchbreaker limpets. I've never seen wreckage components out there. But you can see I can get 40,000 for my 2 black boxes. So I will go down here for hand-in items. So if you pick up any of this stuff, and you're in a system that has a search and rescue contact, you can sell that stuff off. I don't have a black box, so I'm still stuck with my illegal cargo. That's okay. So I saw some, let's see, signal sources popped up. Well, I can't see them now because I'm not in Super Cruise. Some signal sources popped up as I was coming in for a landing. So let's see. How many limpets do I have? I've got 16 limpets. I'm still good to go. Let's take off again. If I don't see any good signal sources, then I'll shift to a different system.
Ship released. Engines engaged. Landing gear retracted.
Alright, let's get into... It's still mass lock. Now I can go to Super Cruise.
Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3.
See if I can check out any of those new signal sources that popped up. Oh, yeah, I got a nice selection of new ones to pick from. Let's pick one here and go take a look at it. Oops, there it is. Convoy dispersal patterns. This one's not going to be all that interesting. Type 7. I got some data off of it. We'll scan these ships. Type 6, which is exactly what I'm flying. Another Type 6. Okay, let's see, is this guy over here harassing this convoy? Alright, nothing to see here. distance.
Frameshift drive charging.
Go back to frameshift.
Four, three, two, one. Engage.
Alrighty, let's see where we are. Got a little distance. I'm not seeing a lot of... I'm just seeing the same old targets out there. I'm going to go to the galaxy map again. Let's see if we can find someplace else to go hunting. So let's see. Immediate vicinity, not much. Here we go. Bruin is in a state of war. It's not too far. Alright. Let's go right to it, because I can't think of anything better to do. Can I actually do this in one jump? I don't think I can. Yeah. Okay, I can't do that in one jump. Give me a second. Plot route. There we go. Gotta do it in 2 jumps. Excuse me.
Frameshift drive charging.
Set my fire group to my discovery scanner so that I can
4, 3, 2.
at least give the system a scan as I pass through it. Alright, so I'll do a quick scan as I scoop
Fuel scooping.
and top off my fuel
System
tanks.
scan complete. Fuel scooping complete.
Alright,
Frameshift drive
and let's jump.
charging.
And you can see in our upper right hand corner, it is, I know I selected the right system because it's saying war reported at the end of the system description.
4, 3,
So it should be similar to the system we just passed through. There'll be some conflict zones, should be some signal sources with combat related things like combat aftermath and such that we've already seen. Hopefully we'll get more distress signals that are legitimate ships and help and not just convoys passing through the night.
fuel scooping.
I'm going to give this system a quick scan.
Fuel scooping complete.
And let's take a look at our nav pane. So we do have some unexplored signal sources out here. I'm going to select one and we'll head right for it. Okay, this one's a convoy dispersal pattern. I'm actually going to look for another one, because convoy dispersals are kind of boring. This one is convoy dispersal. Let's see. Encoded emissions. Alright, I'll drop in on this one. This is just going to be more loot. Loot is always a good thing. If you really wanted me to see me die fast, I can go to the that signal source timed out before I got to it. If you really want me to see me die fast, I can go to the high intensity conflict zone. There's another signal source out there. I'll head for it. It's all convoy dispersal patterns. Actually, that's not what I'm looking for. Here's another one. A little bit of a haul. We got this one. There we go. Another convoy dispersal pattern. Those tend to either be dull or something that you can't handle. I'll drop in on this one. Hopefully as I go through these, it'll generate more. Here we go. Let's take a quick look at this convoy. I scan all these. Oh, almost got hit. All right. I'm not getting much in the way of signal sources popping up. So let's go to the galaxy map again. Keep hopping around till I find something good to show you. Or until I run out of systems that are in a state like this. I'll do a slightly better search on the galaxy map. Alright, I'm just not seeing another system that's in a state of war or civil unrest. At least not nearby. There's some out here. Alright, I see where there's some. There's green again on the map. Civil War. Let's go down and try that one. There we go. Just had to look around a little to find it. This map isn't always the most cooperative. There we go. Set a course. Should be a couple of jumps for this. 2 jumps is nice.
Power plant capacity exceeded.
What did I do there? Alright. Here we go.
Frameshift drive charging.
Take 2 jumps and try and luck in the next system. Hopefully I'd like to show you at least one actual rescue.
4, 3, 2, 1.
You did get to sort of see the repair limpet in action. I used one on myself. But we did not get to see a refueling limpet, and it was, well, kind of pointless to refuel myself with my own fuel. Okay.
Fuel scooping.
Do a quick discovery scan.
Fuel scooping complete.
Get out of range and jump
drive
again.
Charging.
Civil War reported. It should render a nice number of signal sources to check out.
4, 3, 2, 1. Fuel scooping. Fuel scooping complete.
Okay. Now range of the star. Take a look at our navigation pane. Okay. Bunch of stuff in the system. Well, there's at least plenty of places to land. Got an unidentified signal source right here. Let's check it out. That's another combat aftermath. So the distress calls that I've seen so far was looked like it was ships getting harassed by other ships. Again, not really set up for combat, so I'm not getting into those. But if it was a ship that needed fuel, you'd have to, well, accept the request for help in the chat pane, like we did with the combat aftermaths. Get within range, shoot a fuel limpet at him, at the target. It'll transfer a little bit of fuel from your tank to their tank, and they'll be on their merry way. And you'll probably get some kind of little bonus money voucher for your troubles. Not a lot. Usually those only net like 2,500 credits, which is almost not worth it. So one of the shames in this game is that certain activities just don't pay to do. So you're kind of just doing it for fun. And it's basically just a slightly less boring way of grinding out and picking up manufactured materials, like the little bits of cargo we were picking up at some of the other sites.
Hello, Commander. You've entered a monitored area. A ship carrying valuable intelligence disappeared nearby. We'd appreciate your help recovering the data.
Alright, let's go to our chat pane. Accept the mission. They'll tell us what we're actually looking for.
Excellent. You're looking for a black box. Once you've found it, just scoop it up. The data will be automatically transmitted to us.
Cargo scoop deployed.
Let's see. Scoop it, or do we want to... Oh, we're already lined up on it. I may as well just scoop it instead of using up a limpet. Again, black boxes, we can sell at search and rescue vendors. If I wanted to use a limpet, I probably already have it by now. Close up our scoop.
Cargo scoop retracted.
Give it a second to transmit the data, and it'll tell.
Good work, Commander. We've received the data, so you can drop the black box. We really appreciate your help.
So we've seen this a couple of times already.
Frameshift drive charging.
You get that tiny amount of money from turning in the black box, and you end up getting a boost to influence and reputation while doing it, which kind of can be helpful, but it's not worth as much as, you know, something that really nets you a decent amount of money. Let's look around. There's another combat aftermath. There's got to be more signals out here. Not much unidentified signals. Alright. I'm not seeing a great selection here. We'll do another combat aftermath, because that's really the only thing that's showing up right now. It's probably going to be another repeat of the mission we just did. These are not really missions in the sense that most missions in Elite Dangerous are, where you go to the mission broker, you accept the mission, and you go out, you do it, and you come back and collect your reward. These are like the on-the-fly missions where you'll get a random stranger will ask you to haul some cargo somewhere or something like that. That pop up once in a while. drop into this one. Yeah, I don't remember doing oh, here we go.
Hello, Commander. You've entered a monitored area. A ship carrying valuable intelligence disappeared nearby. We'd appreciate your help recovering the data.
Okay, we'll accept this. And he's probably going to tell me to pick up a black box. Or scan a beacon.
Excellent.
Yep,
You're
scan
looking
a
for a
beacon this
private
time.
data beacon. Once you've found it, hit it with your data link scanner. The intel will be automatically transmitted to us.
Where'd my surface, my data link scanner go?
Power plant
Here we go.
capacity exceeded.
We got our mission data.
Good work, Commander. We've received the data. We really appreciate your help.
And let's get lost.
Frameshift drive charging.
Alright, not much to see at that one.
3, 2, 1. Engage.
Oh, there's one. One popped up. Like the new ones, because you don't know what they are. Unidentified signal point source. That's weapons fire, so that's going to be a fight. A threat 1 fight. I may actually be able to deal with that. So just before I get into a fight, I'm going to actually get myself set up for it. If it was anything other than a threat 1, I probably would not be trying this. Alright, almost there. Hopefully this is a light fight. Usually it'll be, you know, 1 or 2 ships threatening another ship. Save them, get them out of trouble. But if it says weapon fire, it means a fight. And like we talked about, this ship can barely fight. So we'll see what happens. Only reason I'm going to go to this one is because threat level is so low. It should be something that I can handle. Or I may eat those words and end up running. But we will find out in just 2 or 3 more seconds. Alright, here we go. hauler, he's clean, so this other guy is probably the bad guy. Alliance Chieftain, who's mostly harmless. That's a lot bigger than me.
Scan detected. Power plant capacity exceeded. Flight assist off.
He's a bigger ship, but he's mostly harmless, so he can't really.
Flight assist on.
He's not a very good pilot. Got one of his drives targeted, see if we can maybe cripple him a little bit. Get through his shields. He's still chatting me to give him his cargo.
Under attack. Flight assist off.
Alright, I've still got a little bit of shield. And he's still asking me to turn in my cargo. Oh, he's getting attacked.
Oscar 5-5, moving on, shipment code.
Flying a little loosey-goosey because I'm going with flight assist off. So basically rotating around, and when momentum seems to slack off, I'll just, before I start losing range, I'll boost towards him. He's got some attention from some other folks. These little weapons don't have a whole lot of penetration, so I'm not really doing much damage to his drives. Now the shields are back up. Should probably try and target something else. Oh, he left. He bugged out. That's what these guys are. These are system security. Also system security.
Scan detected.
So all the security guys bugged out. Oh, they spotted my illegal cargo. I picked up a fine. At least they're not shooting at me.
Frameshift drive charging.
That's one problem when you've got some illegal cargo in your hold and you get scanned, you'll pick up a fine. So if you notice over here, I got fined 3,600 credits. And you're definitely not going to get rich playing like this, but the only thing of real value I'm getting out of it is those, like I said, those materials that I've been picking up. That So when I go in, I gotta have to, if I land here, I'm gonna have to pay off the fine. Although looks like there are some places where I can land in the system that aren't controlled by that faction. Alright, let's take a look at this one. Convoy dispersal, I don't care. We've seen quite a few of those. They're usually not particularly interesting. Is that it? I'm not getting any other. Not seeing any other signal sources. What I'm going to do, I'm going to land and see if I can pay off this bounty. This system doesn't seem to care that I've got this station doesn't seem to care that I've got a bounty on me. If I landed well, let me show you on the nav panel. If I land, oh, it does care. Okay, it did get word. So it's got that little red law icon on the right next to it. That means if I land there, I'm going to get limited system services until I pay the fine. This is a fleet carrier here. That one's showing that it wants me to pay off the fine too. So hopefully, hopefully this station will have what I need. Would be nice if it had a black market, because then I can get rid of my illegal cargo too. Let's see if I take a quick look at my inventory. Yeah, I've got still got that illegal cargo that I picked up a couple of systems over, and I've got a black box. So we'll see. I can make some profit off that illegal cargo if I find a system if I find a station with a black market. Of course, if I want to definitely find one with a black market, I could go to one of the third-party websites like EDDB or inara.cz and do a search for a nearby station that has a black market. That could be considered cheating, but there's not really an easy way in-game for that, so. And you see it's warning me I've got anonymous access. That means it's not going to let me. Anonymous access means it's not going to let you do much until you pay off whatever fine. Just keeping you locked in there. The nice thing about this little ship is that it's actually fairly maneuverable. So it's nice and easy to do that little drift turn to line up on the mail slot. And 26 is right underneath me.
Landing gear deployed.
See, I can't even refuel or repair at this station yet.
Contact. Engines disengaged.
And you'll see anonymous access warnings all over the place. It's kind of hard to miss that, well, you can refuel, but you can't repair. So, refuel, go into our contacts, our authority contact, and we'll pay off our fine. That should open up all the other system services. Alright. Come here. Notice we have a search and rescue contact, but we do not have a black market, so I can't get rid of that illicit cargo. I could always drop it, but I can find a place to sell it. Just maybe not right away. So again, just like before, the only thing we've got that the search and rescue vendor wants is a black box. That'll net us 20,000, so at least that covers that fine. All right. Bear with me 1 second. Restock. I guess we used up some. Used up some point defense turret ammo. Let's go into the restock menu, and I'll freshen up my. Freshen up my limpet supply a little bit. Bear with me 1 second. Let's see. I don't think I have too much time for anything else, so what I'm going to do real quick before I sign off, I'm going to cheat and use my web browser. I'm going to go over to the EDDB web page, and I'm going to search for a nearby station that has a black market. Let's see. Just bear with me while I'm typing. Okay. Oh, okay, there we go. There is a station in this system that has a black market, just not this one. So that'll be easy. So, but you'd never know that. It's really hard in game to be able to pick that up. So I have to, again, I went to a third-party website that collects information like that. Let's take a look at our nav panel. I'll try to find that station. Here we go. It's actually a ground colony. So last thing we do for a ground a planetary base rather. So last thing we'll do before we sign off. I did really want to show you doing a refueling operation, but it doesn't look like I'm going to get a chance to do that because it's pretty late already. So last thing we'll do before I sign off, I'll go fly down to that planet and I'll go take care of my illegal cargo at the station that has the black market. So I've got that selected. we'll launch, we'll fly down there, and we'll take care of business. So once again, search and rescue is not particularly profitable, but you can do it while you're collecting materials for engineering, and you'll get those little extra little side quests. If you can do it in something small like a Type 6, although you may be better off using a larger ship that's a little bit more combat hardy. You may want to take supplementary missions through the mission broker, just so that you're actually earning money while you're doing it. Things like carrying cargo or courier missions or black box retrievals and things like that.
Frameshift drive charging.
If you've got can carry an SRV, you can do ground retrieval missions, which may yield you more stuff that you can trade off at the search and rescue trader. And again, if you carry a ship that you can pack a little bit of combat capacity into, that's good, because you may get into little fights that you may want to stick it out instead of running during.
Orbital flight engaged.
You can probably imagine you can. The ship I'm using is basically minimal, so it's a lot of running. I don't mind playing like that at all, because it's being able to escape is a good skill to have, even if you are combat capable, because there's always going to be some chance that you're going to bite off more than you can chew in any combat situation. The best part, which again I didn't get to show you because there's no other live players here, since you have repair limpets and refuel limpets, you can actually go and help out other live players just like the fuel rats would. So if you're carrying that stuff, it's probably a good idea. Reach out and chat if you see another live player. Let them know that, hey, you've got fuel limpets if he needs a boost, or repair limpets if he needs to repair and doesn't want to go back into a station. And that's a good way to make friends with people. So this is really support utility ship. You can do it with I've done, like I said before, I've done something similar with a larger ship, a Type 7 cargo holder, which has more room for equipment and can be a little bit tougher. But the downside is that one needs a large pad to land, so it's a little limited on what it can, on what kind of stations it can go to. I kind of like buzzing around in something small and light that I don't get to fly very often. So, like I said, even though the Type 6 is a light cargo vessel, it actually handles very well, especially after you've spent a lot of time flying bigger, slower ships. There's no reason, if you have a big enough ship, that you can there's no reason that you can't do other things like haul cargo or even do some light exploring if you have enough slots to mount a discovery scanner too. So you can combine this mode of play with others fairly easily, provided that you have enough room in your ship to do so. And like I've been saying all along, you're not going to get rich doing this type of activity, because it's just not really a good way to make any good profit off of it. But it's a fun diversion and gives you something to do while you're collecting materials.
Welcome, Commander. Port facilities are at your disposal.
And honestly, if you play this game for a while, you're going to end up having enough cash that you don't really have to worry about grinding for more cash if you don't want to. I'd be worried about grinding more cash if I really wanted to get into using fleet carriers. I think that's a little too much grinding to get up to for me to get up to the point where I can buy one. Considering I've got maybe a fifth of the money that I need to get started, let alone do the upkeep. But players that have been around more than I have plenty of cash, 10, 20 times as much cash as I have. They can outfit a fleet carrier no problem with the cash they have on hand without grinding for it. I'm not really going to bother grinding for it, so but I've got almost 1 billion credits in the bank, so with almost 1 billion credits in the bank, there's unless I'm gonna go buy a brand new federal Corvette and A-rate it for combat, I'm not going to be making huge dents in my wallet. It's like one thing that I may do the next time I stream is actually build a ship from scratch. I was thinking of, oops, gravity's a little, not too high on this planet, 0.71, but a little higher than I've been used to, so you may have noticed I almost smacked into the ground there.
Landing gear deployed.
Like I said, next time maybe I'll build something like a trading vessel, and I've never done a whole lot of trading, actually, where you find trade routes.
Scan detected.
Yeah, I was going to put down before that scan completed, so I don't have to pay another fine. But yeah, I may put together a trading I may build a trading vessel on the with some weapons and defenses on it on the stream, and then go see if I can figure out the trading system, or maybe I'll just tool around with something else. I haven't really decided what I'm going to do next time yet. Anyway, let's take a look at our starport services. Hopefully, I've read the maps right, and I should have access to a black market. There it is. All right, I can unload this illegal cargo that I picked up. Not great prices, but it's something. So you see I'm getting tiny amounts of money here, at least enough to cover the repairs that I've done and the fines that I've had to pay off. Like I've been saying all along, this isn't a way to get rich. This isn't a way to grind out 10, 20 million credits an hour. No, you'll be lucky if you grind out a few 100,000 in an hour. But again, just something interesting you can do in the game that not a lot of other people are doing. If you're carrying those limpets, you can practice for the fuel routes by helping out your friends or your enemies or whatever. And you can just cruise around, check out all the different signal sources in a system, especially if it's a system that's in civil war or war state or civil unrest, so it's got lots of conflict going on. You'll find those combat aftermath source signals that have like a little mini game to do. Distress calls. You'll either get a pack of ships, and where maybe you may have to fight to get the bad guys off someone's back, or you may have to repair or refuel a stranded ship. And then there's the encoded emissions signals. There's also another similar one. I think it's called high intensity signal source or something like that. That's similar to encoded emissions. That just has stuff that you can pick up there, whether it's materials or illegal cargo. Again, if you get the opportunity to pick up to pick up things like black boxes or escape pods. That's stuff that you can turn into a search and rescue contact for a little bit of money to make it worth your while. But again, the main thing that you're going to get of any value is just the materials grinding. Yeah, not a great way to make a profit, but it's fun to do now and then, and breaks up the monotony of grinding for money or materials or whatever else you're going for. The big grind that I've got coming up is going to be for combat rank. So I've been stuck at expert level for quite a while. And the bar, even though I'm near the top of expert rank, it moves very slowly. Like I'll do, like I'll go out, I'll do some combat at like a resource extraction site or a combat zone, and I'll fight for a good hour, and I'll move the bar like maybe 1 or 2%. So it gets to be a grind, and I've got a couple of ranks to go before I max that out, and it's just going to get even slower. So I don't know if I have the patience to really grind it out. So, do some combat to at least put a few coins in the bucket, and then go do something else. And this is one of the things that I do every now and then just to break things up. Because if I do one thing for too long, aside from maybe exploring, where you don't really have a choice, if you're going to go way out exploring, you got to go out for a long time. But it's nice to be able to change it up now and then. Just to recap some of the other things we talked about, I'm using a Type 6. It's a very small cargo ship. It's a little bit of a stretch to pack all the equipment you need in it, but the plus side is, if you look at my rebuy cost is very low. So if I get in trouble, it's a fragile ship. It's not that combat capable. Although if you fly well, you can do okay with it, or you can hold your own in some light combat situations. The bonus is the rebuy is so low that if you get killed, it almost doesn't matter, especially when you've got a balance like I have, where I'm almost at 900 million. Alright, with that, I hope you enjoyed this. Get to show you a little bit of a play style that probably most people aren't going to do on a regular basis, that you maybe haven't thought of. Hope you got something out of this, maybe open your eyes to other ways you can play the game. Again, it's not profitable, but it's different. And with this game, I found you got to keep changing up what you're doing just to keep things interesting. And the one advantage this game has, it may not be very well developed in all the different things that you can do, or each of those individual things may not be as well developed as you'd like, but there's a lot of different things you can do, and that's kind of what keeps the game fresh for me. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. I'll try and see if maybe tomorrow or Saturday we can do another stream, or possibly play another game for a little bit, depending how I feel and what I have time for. But like I said, hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Have a great night. Have a great holiday weekend. Stay safe.